That's right, Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Nintendo Switch. A port is rumored to be coming quite possibly in 2019. And this dates back all the way to 2016 actually. Laura K. Dell did rumor that Xenoblade Chronicles X was in development for the Nintendo Switch just a little bit after the Switch was announced in that time. And the rumor from her was that Monolith Soft was not actually going to be porting the game to the Switch, but another company was. It looks like though that 2019 may in fact be the time frame. There has been a lot of talk behind the scenes, and a lot of people seem to have heard recently that Xenoblade Chronicles X will be coming to the Nintendo Switch in port form in 2019 with some improvements to the graphics and quite possibly some additional content. And of course, we just had the confirmation yesterday, Elma from Xenoblade Chronicles X is being added to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as a Blade, and the original voice actress that plays Elma from Xenoblade Chronicles X is voicing her in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So you can kind of see some things publicly already pointing to a port of Xenoblade Chronicles X to the Nintendo Switch, and this was one of the most requested games to be ported to the Switch as well. And also, on top of all of that, the producer, developer of the game for the Wii U did say recently in the last few months that they would be interested in porting the game to the Nintendo Switch in the not too distant future. And we have to remind ourselves that when developers and companies like Nintendo say that, yeah, we would be interested in doing these things, or yeah, we would love to port that game to the system, more times than not, those plans are already in progress and already happening behind the scenes. And what a lot of developers do, and companies like Nintendo, what they do is they'll bring it up in an interview or a question and answer to gauge interest from the fans if they'll be excited for a port on their system. And Monolith Soft revealed that the art style for Elma will be obviously taking heavily from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, since she will be a blade to use in that game. So let's go over some things that I think will be improved upon for Xenoblade Chronicles X Remastered. I'll call it Remastered for the Nintendo Switch in 2019 if the rumors are true and it does come out next year. If you haven't played Xenoblade Chronicles X, then obviously you wouldn't know some of these things that are an issue in the game, but if you did play the game on the Nintendo Wii U, then you'll know very clearly the things that I'm talking about. So the first thing that I would like for them to improve upon would be some of the graphical choices they had in the game, like the color palette and some of the landscapes and some of the lighting and some of the landscapes look kind of drab because they're going more for a realistic type of setting. I do think that Xenoblade Chronicles X could benefit from a more fantasy type of setting if they just touched up a few of the choices in the art style. They could make the visuals pop a lot more like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Xenoblade Chronicles did on the Wii. Those games did pop out and were more colorful looking to the eye. Granted, Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii was less technically impressive than Xenoblade Chronicles X. Xenoblade Chronicles X did push the Wii U very hard in what it was doing technologically, but it was going for a weird kind of fantasy meets realistic aspect to it. And while it did look fantastic and the world looked beautiful, since obviously it was still a fantasy sci-fi game, they could have gone for more of a colorful type of art style in that game for the Wii U. And I do think that the port to the Nintendo Switch could benefit from that type of improvements to different aspects in the lighting, adding different colors and different bloom effects and particle effects to make the visuals stand out and pop a little bit more than some of the more bland settings they had in Xenoblade Chronicles X. Some of the areas in the game look absolutely beautiful and gorgeous, like Noctilum, for example, look absolutely stunning on the Wii U. So more touch-ups like that in Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Switch port they could do to make the visuals stand out more to the eye than they did on the Wii U version. Also, the next thing I think they can improve upon on the Switch port is the faces on the characters. I think they could be adjusted a little bit. Granted, if you did play the game yourself, I'm not going to spoil the story for you, but if you did play the game, you'll know that the faces did have something to do with the story there and how they looked. But I do think they could touch up the art style and how they look on the Switch port just a little bit to make them not look so bland and plain as they did on the Wii U game. Now, as far as draw distance and pop-in are concerned, it's hard to say how much they can improve upon that because the game already did a fantastic job at it on the Wii U. Obviously, there was some pop-in for enemies and NPC characters, especially in the city. They might be able to improve upon that in the Switch version of the game and have less pop-in in the city itself, but in the actual world, when you traveled outside, they did a very good job of hiding the pop-in. They did more of like a fade-in kind of thing with the objects in the distance, and they did a very good job in hiding it on the Wii U version of the game. And obviously this port has been in development for a few years because the Wii U game was developed on AMD hardware specific to the Wii U, and they used all the tricks in the book to make it work. So obviously porting that to the Switch may have taken a little bit extra time to take advantage of the Switch specific aspects of the console. Another thing that I saw players complain about with Xenoblade Chronicles X, that some of the side quests and fetch quests were extremely vague and boring, and a lot of players just skipped doing them, was because the explanations were just so vague on what to do and what to look for on some of these side quests that they were frustrating for a lot of players who tried to attempt to do them without going online and looking at a FAQ, for example. I do think they could fix that aspect of the side quests and make them a little bit more clear. And granted, I know there is some challenge involved in finding the objective and basically finding out what you're supposed to be doing, but some of those quests were so extremely vague that it gave the player almost no chance to understand what was going on unless they had a perfect memory of some of the things that you found throughout your quest hours and hours and hours before, like some little item, for example, that you found. If you didn't remember the specific name or location that it was at, you were going to have a hard time trying to find that if you came back to the game a lot later in a different side quest where it told you to find 10 of these things in some random area. So I do think the team could refine that a little, because I don't think it really added any enjoyment to the game itself, those type of side quests. And another thing they can improve upon is just making sure the game has a little bit better hit detection. Some of the objects in the game, including rocks and some caves, you could actually get stuck on or even walk through, and some of the enemies can actually still attack your character and kill you through walls in some of those caves and side quests in the game, which could be very frustrating for you if you're trying to get away from them and they still can attack you from a distance even though you're behind a wall. And if you recall, the game did have an online mode for quests that you could take on with other players. Hopefully they revamped that a little bit on the Switch and make it more seamless and easier to get a game going online than they had in the Wii U version. The Wii U version was a little bit confusing to players on how they could get online and play multiplayer without having to look it up really and try to figure it out on their own. I think they could have a little bit better explanation of it in the Switch version, maybe even have a full-blown cinematic of how it works, describing to the player exactly how they can play online and the benefits of it. And yes, it was explained in the Wii U version, you just really had to look for it basically. Alright guys, so that's the rumor going around, and those are some things I would like for them to improve upon on the Switch port. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section. Are you excited for this game to be ported to the Nintendo Switch? And what things would you like for them to improve upon for the Switch port in your opinion? Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. If you did enjoy it, please hit the like button, subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you very soon in the next video. Have a great day.